within a week, there were 5 copies of the book. They were cheaper. They had slightly different titles. They had names that were variation of her name and were close enough to be confused. I think that even though a lot of plagiarism is created by AI, that people are very crafty and clever about making AI sound like a human. And there are certain filters they can build to make something look suspiciously like the real book until you look real close.
AI has made content plagiarism fast, scalable, and hard to detect. Today we will explore how machine-readable content identifiers and registries can help restore ownership, attribution, and monetization for creators. My guest today is Julie Trelstad, Head of US Publishing at Amlet. She's helping build infrastructure that allows machines to actually recognize who owns content. If you want to learn about creator rights, AI ethics, and the future of digital content protection, this episode will change how you think about digital ownership in the age of AI. Make sure to subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast app and YouTube. If something resonates with you, drop a comment and share your thoughts. I would love to hear your perspective. And now, enjoy the conversation. Welcome to an hour of innovation, Julie.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here. So let me start with the question that may be a little bit interesting, but why is the plagiarism is so hard to detect these days, even though we have all these technologies?
It just looks very real. And I think that even though a lot of plagiarism is created by AI, that people are very crafty and clever about making AI sound like a human. And there are certain filters they can build to make something look suspiciously like the real book until you look real close. And if you're selling a book online, you usually just see the cover and you don't know it's not real till you get it in your hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And also, the real risk here is what is it exactly? Is it lost royalties or trust or ownership?
Oh, all of the above. All of the above. I was working with an author earlier this year who had a book published by a major publishing company. Within a week, there were 5 copies of the book. They were cheaper. They had slightly different titles. They had names that were variation of her name and were close enough to be confused. So it caused market confusion. She lost sales because these other books were cheaper and some had flashier, brighter covers. And it hurt her reputation too, because when people started reviewing these books, they were terrible. Also caused her publisher to have to go out of their way to like play whack-a-mole and pay attention to these books. I know that the publishers and retailers like Amazon are working really hard to try to detect these, but it's happening so fast and it kind of looks real. So it's hard to see if it seems legit.
Yeah. So this is a good case, and I guess if more authors came to you, how confident is your system that it will prove the ownership of that they
of
wrote
the
it
work?
actually?
Yeah. Well, maybe we could talk a little bit about how it works. Yeah. So Amlet.ai is the system that I'm talking about, and what we have created is the first machine-readable object identifier for content, and it's based on an international code called the ISCC, the International Standard Content Code, that creates a digital fingerprint based on the work. So it's based on your actual book and the content in it. It's not the actual text. But think of it like the Dewey Decimal System, where you're on a shelf and you know it's a nonfiction book and it's military history and it's particularly about a particular part of the world and a particular time. It's that level of detail down to like 130 points, so that if another book comes along, you can actually compare the 2 books side by side and see what percentage of similarity there is. So if like you can have the same book in French and English, and there's like an 85% similarity, even though they're totally in a different language. So that if you encounter a book that was basically somebody instructing ChatGPT to copy your book but make it different enough, and you see a 60, 70, 80% similar, you can prove your case for sure.
Okay, so how do you prove which one came first then?
Yeah, Amlet, what we've built in is a time code. And so when you register your book, it's notarized and stamped with original ownership. So it's legal proof that you were the first one to have this book.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Whoever
Doesn't
comes
work
first.
on books that have already been stolen by AI. It's too late. But going forward in the future.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so whichever was registered first, that's the original one then. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. So, were there any tools before Amlet.ai, how this was identified?
Yeah. Well, humans have been a tool. Identifying things that are wrong. We have last year, everyone was putting a copyright notice in the front of the book saying AI cannot be used to train or copy. And then we have copyright, but copyright is a law, and you still need humans to identify that there was a violation, and you have to prove that the copyright was filed, and there's a lot of legal paperwork. And then we have lawyers. Lawyers are our tool, helping determine this. But there hasn't been a machine readable thing for copyrighted content. On the web, you have robots.txt, which is like a piece of code that you put on your website, and you tell pirates, go away, don't copy this. But that only works for publicly available, publicly facing content, not copyrighted book content, are things that are not like on the web properly.
And I imagine it used to take a lot of time to go through back and forth, especially if lawyers have to get involved, right?
Exactly. And then we have what we call digital rights management, which has been around since the 90s, which is like it's some kind of encryption that's put on ebooks. But I think given the fact that every book ever published has been pirated, that did not work very well. It just helped readers, have a harder time accessing their content from one device to another.
Okay, interesting. I wonder also how this related to how the music industry managed their licenses. And like we had cases with Napster when everything was available for free, and then Apple and with iTunes somehow solved that. So it's interesting. Like
yeah, they solved it with the devices, like locking it down to like a particular device, like a Kindle device or so on, and making it hard to move it from one spot to another. But like an ebook file is really simple. It's a lot like a web page. It's just a series of text documents kind of zipped up into, a format. It's not that complicated, and it's pretty easy. Our hackers have figured that out.
Yeah, okay. So let's go back. Yeah, okay. So we can consider you a hacker then.
Sure.
So let's go back to the time when you first were gathered with your team and figured it out, or decided to figure out this problem. Can you tell us about that time and what spawned that?
Yeah, idea? It hasn't been that long. So the ISCC, two men founded this company. It's Titus Pan, who created the ISCC in 2019, and Giacomo D'Angelo, who is also the CEO of StreetLib Distribution, which is how I got involved because I've been helping them out as well. But the two of them Titus realized that in 2019, the laws in Europe require AI and software companies to compensate authors or content creators whenever they use their material. This is not true in the United States. It is not the law in the United States, but in Europe it is. And they quickly came to realize that this was impossible to enforce, because there was no registry, there was no way for these developers and AI companies to easily identify who the owner of content was if the content was just like ingested in mass from all different sources. Like the individual bits and pieces and authors got lost in the shuffle.
I see. So, and the system is basically this registry where so I guess it's a functionality of the system when somebody wants to train their models on all these books and things like that, they can get those identifiers and give a credit kind of to people, right? Is that the idea?
Exactly. In fact, we even have an API, so they can connect their system directly and find out without having to contact an agent or a publisher and find out and wait 3 months for them to sort through their records and send a paper mail that yes, the rights are available and not. And plus, the publishers and authors, if they were asked, can I use your work for AI training, they would just say no. I mean, why would they say yes? There's no precedent. We haven't been selling it for this. So forgiveness rather than permission seemed to be the MO, at least until now. But in the United States, we've had these major lawsuits from Anthropic, and there's one going through for OpenAI that have, said, okay, AI companies, it's okay to train your content as long as you purchase a book. So they don't say you have to compensate the author. They just say you have to purchase a book. But the lawsuits have said it is not okay to use pirated work. And that's where they got in trouble, not asking permission. And they're having to pay out billions of dollars. So these companies, they need this content to make AI models good, and they want to be able to pay them out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's basically just giving a credit to people. If they give you permission to use it, that's fine. It's same as people reading other people's books and then referencing them in conversations or their articles or their work or whatnot. So it's very similar to that. That's great. Because, I mean, we could consider artificial intelligence as kind of additional human or brain or whatnot. So if it learns something, it should reference who's the
It's smart
creator.
enough to know that, right? It should be able to add that.
Yeah, it's trouble when bad players, like in the beginning we said, right, paraphrasing the whole book and selling it as their own. That's when really this registry comes handy.
Yeah, absolutely. And and there's lots of different ways it can help, so you can, authors and publishers can make money from having their books be trained, and also make money from generative AI outputs that resemble their books or use their ideas or their actual language. And I think, we should think of this as new sources of revenue.
Yeah. Were there any sort of challenges when you started this, or these two gentlemen started building the system? What kind of assumptions they were making or challenges they ran into? Can you share that?
Yeah, I mean, it's still early days. I mean, this company was founded in September of 2025. So the challenge is exactly what bits of information need to be included in the fingerprint in the registry. And at this point, it's an education thing, because when I talk to publishers about, oh, I have this tool to help with AI, they immediately hear AI and say, I don't want to talk to you. So there's nobody really knows what this is yet. The most similar thing we can point to is it's like registering copyright, or it's like registering an ISBN, which is the barcode you put on the back of a book. It's, it's not really in the thought process. So that's the biggest challenge is, first of all, explaining what it is and how it works, and also saying, trying to figure out how exactly they're going to be using it. So, and we can look to the music industry, but there's a lot to be explored and invented here.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about how patent being filed. It's a lot of, it's a huge process. It's a lot of paperwork and things like that, how to register a patent. But it's also kind of this registry of who's original inventor of something, right?
Right.
So it's very similar to that. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it's complementary. So you would register your copyright, and then you would, have the Amlet. So how these things work together is something we're still, trying to figure out. But the idea is it's infrastructure. It's allowing machines to see the human-made content, which they couldn't before. There was the machines just couldn't discern it.
So, and then I am, as an author, I will have to come to you and register my work, right?
Sure.
I have to learn somehow how why you exist, where you exist, how to find you.
Oh yeah. Well, if you are a single author and you're not like with a larger publishing company, StreetLib, which is like the same company under the umbrella, StreetLib is an international ebook distribution company. So you can always upload your book onto StreetLib and sell it, in Amazon all over the world and in the Kobo store and Barnes and Noble and all kinds of retailers in Europe, everywhere. Basically, it's a distribution company. We're automatically including the Amlet for free if you distribute your book through there. So if you upload it, you can automatically get the ISCC and get that, a free proof. If you want to go a little further and you want to get the notarization, there'll probably be an additional fee, just like not very much, but per book. But you can get it protected today by using the Amlet or using the uploading your book at StreetLib.
Okay. And do you have plans to eventually go to the other publishers and platforms?
Yeah, we're talking to them now, and we're hoping what it is, because it's infrastructure, anybody, and this is for anybody listening, if you want to start a digital rights agency, you can use it as the foundation for protecting the rights of your clients and as like a tool that you can use to, buy and sell rights as well. So it's really designed for anyone who's in the business of, to publish literally means to make public, right? And for a publisher, their job, they don't own the author's intellectual property. They only have the right to make it available publicly. And if the author's contract with the publisher says that they can sell additional rights, and if one of those rights is AI rights, which I don't think it's in anybody's contract yet, or will be. It will be in 2026. But often the publisher has the right to sell the French edition and, the Braille edition and the large print edition. And there's all kinds of different ways that books are repackaged and sold. So the tool can be used by a publisher to buy and sell these rights. But as a company, we're really interested in empowering individual creators and authors. We want individual creators and authors to protect their work. And I could even imagine a future where authors might decide to get an Amlet, an identifier for their work before they send it to a publisher. And then after it's published, there's a different Amlet, a different one assigned, which is that publisher's particular edition. And then if a foreign language publisher, then they would get a different one, and that's their particular edition. And they would all be really similar, within 90%, but they would be different versions of the same work with different licensing rights.
I see. Okay, so let's walk through how me as an author can go and register my book. You said one way, I go through one publisher. What if I use like Amazon, for example, or some small publishing agency? Do I have to go to Amlet.ai also and register there?
Yeah, right now the only way you can do Amlet as an individual is through StreetLib. We are hoping very soon, to have a self-serve individual before you put it on Amazon. But you can go to StreetLib and publish to Amazon through StreetLib, and then it would be there. But as an author, that's a little harder to control. Like a lot of people want to manage their own Amazon accounts. But if you wanted that level of protection right now, you could definitely do that. That wouldn't stop people from copyrighting it, but it certainly would give you the legal standing and ability to cease and desist any copies that you would see being made.
Okay. And which I also wanted to ask, people will have to not have to, but if they run into the copy that they feel like it's been a copy of their work, they can report it. And
exactly. No, I was just saying, I asked the founders, will you be able to search the whole internet and constantly monitor if my book is being copied? and they turned to me and they said, Julie, the internet is really large.
Yeah.
You don't have any idea how big it is. No, we don't have that level of computing power. But it does. Most authors are monitoring this, and as I said, the retailers like Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Kobo in particular, they're really paying attention and they're trying to eliminate as much of this as possible. It's just like, so everyone's watching it right now. This gives you a tool to enforce.
And then once they found an illegal copy, let's say, where they go and how they report it.
Yeah, like if you're an author and it would either be, so if you're like going through Amazon and use KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing, their self-publishing platform, you can go right into KDP and file a complaint in Author Central. You can let them know right there. Same thing if you had a publisher. The publisher would be the one who has the publishing account, so they would be the ones to file the complaint. And usually it would be a takedown. I mean, you're not going to get damages, I don't think, unless you really want to go after them with your lawyers. But the good news is it would just like that would go away. And they would have to, they would have to prove it was legit to put it back, and good luck there.
So this is the main functionality to keep like ownership in order of the book. But then I know you also have some other functionalities for publishers and for authors. Can you speak to those? What else is there?
Well, as I said, we're still under development, but like a tool that we have in StreetLib is that we can use AI to identify the best metadata for the book. And metadata, if you use the word, it's like the data about the data. So when you upload a book, you also put in a book description, you put categories, you put keywords, the price, the title, the author's name, the author's bio, competitive titles, all those things are metadata. And the AI tool that goes along with this, once we identify your book and really see where it fits in the market, we can tune it so it is most likely to be discovered. So that's one tool. Another tool is like, again, you need to have a licensing agency in place, but it really allows very fine-grained licensing of your work down to the like paragraph level or even below. All the illustrations are individually licensable. So that means if in the future an AI application wants to use your text, say it's like just like a medical app, that's, and your book is a medical textbook or on a health related subject that's very credible. And it uses your content in its answers to the chat. You would get paid like our artists get paid on Spotify, like micro payments every time a paragraph or sentence or a piece of your content is used in creation, which is like a new stream of revenue. And that fine-grained level of detail is amazing. Like, and the fact that that paragraph is identified to belonging to that book, to that author.
Well, yeah, that's very powerful for the publishers. For the authors, they should pay attention to this. And it could be more than just selling a book, right? It could be that they allow it for AI models to be trained on, and then they make money, just like, I don't know, Google ads.
Like Google, and another application that's likely to happen is searchable books, right? So if you allow your books to be searched by an AI application, you should also get a micro payment for the searching.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very powerful for people who want to have additional monetization enabled.
Yeah, it reminds me actually like the Google Books, like when Google Books came about and they scanned everything and they like put it all up in the Google library. There was a big lawsuit like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. And it was ultimately dismissed because they said, no, you're not really, this isn't piracy, you're not exposing these whole books. And in fact, it created a secondary market for older and used books, and it brought a lot of books back into print when all of a sudden people were finding them on Google Books and they wanted to buy them. And Google Books really acted more as a discovery platform. People were searching and they were finding, and they're like, I want that book. So it turned out not to be competitive, but actually additive to publisher profits. It also made a lot of books available that were forevermore out of print or in public domain. So, but interesting that the lawsuits determined that it wasn't cannibalizing authors or publishers, or at least that was the legal decision.
Yeah. Do you have or do you know if many authors just like don't really pay attention to this plagiarism problem, how big is it? Like you creating the whole business to solve this problem and help them. Like, do they misunderstand this? Do you know?
Well, I think it's also the AI. It comes from both sides, right? Is like, no, I think authors are fully aware and they're angry. They are really mad. And as I say, like, it is too late for everyone who has a book that has been ingested into ChatGPT or Anthropic or Gemini and lives there forever. Like the little
Mm-hmm.
remains of that book or the mathematical remains of that book.
Mm-hmm.
They had no choice. That wasn't a use that they said they
Mm-hmm.
would allow for this book. But then again, they didn't know, who knew, right? It was happening. But authors are extremely angry about that, and for good reason. So we call it, like at Amlet, we talk about the post-scraping age. So like scraping is done. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to tolerate this. We have the tools and the technology that this doesn't have to happen anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder how it's also how can they prevent this from happening? Is it in like a log in your system also, or logs on the publisher's websites?
Oh, that's interesting. How can it be? Well, um, yeah, it's really hard. I mean, they talk about adding more digital lockdown. So what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and we're seeing, is that, and mostly with technical content, is that it is getting locked behind paywalls. So the digital content, I think, is becoming less available, like legal journals and so on, medical journals, scientific journals. Um, High quality stuff is just getting walled off, and
Mm-hmm.
levels of security are being put in so that things can't randomly take it. But once you put a book out on an ebook store, once it's on Amazon, once it's in the library, it's really hard. Like they even like will go to a used bookstore and scan in the book and then use it. So,
Mm-hmm.
you can't, it's really hard to prevent that from happening. The best thing we can do is, like, if it does happen, we know where it came from.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Right.
And then for the publisher side, are there anything that maybe they are like having issues with today, or how the system protects their rights and their work or anything?
Yeah. I mean, the work, until it's published, it's behind a closed door. Like they don't let material out until
Mm-hmm.
it is like literally a product that belongs to the public, which is always like a hard like balance. Like once it is for sale, it doesn't, it belongs to whoever buys it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
commodity, it's not there. But I do believe in what I've been hearing is that the publishers and some of the agents are doing a lot to negotiate things. Like there was, and they're being very bullish about shutting down things that seem to be a violation of rights. So when Kindle, for instance, had a new feature that says you can ask questions of the book, which is basically making a chatbot about any book in the Kindle app,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently it was giving spoilers to novels. The Authors Guild threw a lawsuit and got Amazon to like really pull that back because it's not a use that was granted or allowed. The publisher
Mm-hmm.
said, "Yeah, Amazon, you can sell our ebooks." They didn't say you can turn them into chatbots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And probably I don't even know why people would want to search or summarize something in the book in the first place. It's one thing if you want to find like a reference to something, or like a normal search, like exact match search. Um, but I don't know, maybe
Why
students
ask?
were messing with it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know in Scandinavia that they've got a textbook company that publishes a chatbot right along with the textbooks that's like helps with studying. I can see that, but yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know if people really use that Kindle feature or not, or the programmers just thought it was fun.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, from all this work that you did up to today, and I know you said this is early development and so forth, what are some of the assumptions maybe you made in the beginning that you had to change, or something that is you already pivoting or expanding to somewhere else? Maybe you can say something about that.
I mean, we're still trying to figure out the business model, and whether certainly we want to offer it for free to some degree, and like, what is the difference between a free and paid one? Like, we want to protect everyone as possible. We also want to make them available to get licensing rights. So that's something we're still exploring. Actually, we're talking actively to authors and publishers, like what will work for them, because we don't really know what this marketplace is going to look like, and what the streams of revenue are going to be. The other thing that we've gone over a few different times is just like exactly what pieces of information go into the registry, how much of the metadata, and what classifications we're using. So it's a database, but and because it's non-distributed, kind of like blockchain, like once you make a record, it's a record, it's good, it's there forever. So we want to be very precise about making sure that it's the content that is needed and is useful.
I see. Okay. And then was there anything in general about how you invented this or implemented this product that you would change a little bit if you know already what you know today?
Oh gosh, we're still changing lots of things. No, I'm not sure. I think it's more like how we explain it. And I think like we originally, made a big play about the licensing fee. And but it's really something that people who do the work of licensing can use. It's not, we're not taking over someone else's, publishing rights. We're not making, and some of our competitors have businesses that are more similar to that, where they're like dealing in the AI rights. We're not. We've created an infrastructure tool that anyone can use if they are creating relationships between content creators and AI companies. And like, here we are on a podcast. We've gotten a lot of requests for audiobook and podcast use. Like, can you like register this? And we're like, yes, not yet. So we're working on figuring out how to create the audiobook version of this. It's very, we're close to it. And I think we need, and you can't do it in print. So it's like we can do it for an ebook. We can't do it for print, but we assume the print and the ebook are the same. But I wonder about different editions of books, whether that's something we're going to do or not. The content should be the same.
Yeah, interesting is not only about the podcast or like even other shows that not necessarily podcasts, but just like YouTube channels or some other streamers on Twitch or other platforms or things like that. It's interesting because once it's recorded and out there uploaded, it's there for AI models to use it.
Exactly. And, it would make a lot of sense for all of this content. I've talked to also a number of like technical companies that are not like publishing books necessarily, but they are creating copyrighted material. They're creating user manuals, guides, like intellectual property that belongs to them. So I believe the market is much bigger than just books. It just happens to be that we are book people and we're solving a book problem. But any creator who's making something, and it works on art and drawings and images. So there's no reason it can't be used for like any kind of copyrightable content.
Yeah, I think it's important to give credit to original creators of the content, because I know right now there's a lot of conversation going on about like how many YouTube channels are purely AI generated and YouTube somehow penalizing and even shutting down these channels for some inappropriate things. And then also I know that some other people talking about this new world of search optimization for AI models, that there are specifically people want their content to show up in AI models, and they actually struggle how to get it in, because sometimes AI models don't pick it up for whatever reason, and things like that. So it's like both sides, and how do you balance
both sides
that, right?
Yeah, and that's a perfect use for our API. Like I could imagine some people would want to put their content in for free and have the API and say, use me, no licensing fee. And the goal is just widespread dissemination of that content.
Right, right. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see how your product will grow and support all of that. That would be interesting. You can register, but you can have the checkbox like use it or don't use it. That would be awesome.
It does. It has exactly that as a checkbox.
Yeah.
It says you can train, you can use it for search, or you can use it for like two kinds of generative AI, whether you want to like have it in your app or use it to train generative AI specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So you can turn any of those on or off. And then once you determine whether it's okay, then the next step is negotiating the fee.
Yeah, yeah.
Or making it for free. Right now, at the moment of this recording, everything is like, don't
Okay.
copy, don't touch.
That's the default.
That's the default for the moment. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because that's what you're solving for this pain for authors who don't want this. They
Right.
really want to protect their stuff. So that
Right.
understandable.
And it's future proofing too, because, as soon as the licensing comes in, they're on the stage, they're ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. So was your research and your work, do you have any insights maybe in the future, 5, 10 years from now, where all this digital ownership will go and registries like yours?
Yeah, I hope that it will be common that, already, like, if you look historically, in the United States, the book publishing industry makes a huge amount of its revenue, and I can't cite that number right now, on foreign rights sales. I
Mm-hmm.
think that there is a huge potential for digital rights sales, for AI rights sales, that it's going to be a whole new range, especially for professional, technical, educational type books. I also think like having this content available for AI creators, creative AI creators, people who are making games, building worlds, and being able to license and use authors' works and build off of that is also super interesting. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, not too long down the road, we'll have creators who can use and build off of authors' work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. We'll have to see about that. That's very interesting. What it may also just hit my brain. It may also slow down all these innovations in AI because everybody will start, not everybody, but many people will start restricting their content, and AI will miss on that. And we already know. I just had like couple episodes back with the person who's building a musical educational business, and he was saying that his partner in business has so much written music that he never published anywhere, and all of that could be gold for AI models who training for music education and music production and things like that. But it never saw that. It's all on paper somewhere. It's all on like recorded old media that is never in the internet and things like that. So
Well, he
it's
could
challenging.
scan it and put it on an Amlet, get that registered.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So now we know it doesn't have to be a book. It can be a melody, right? It can be something
music.
else.
And
Yeah.
when I talk music, people get more excited than just about anybody else when I talk about this particular technology, because they get it.
I'm pretty sure.
Book people are like, huh? What? AI is terrible. Just go away.
I think most people write one book, maybe two, and that's it.
Mhm.
But music producers and musicians, they produce albums and single songs, like a bunch of them every year. So they care more about protection. They feel more the
As
pain.
I say, like, publishers are more motivated than individual authors at this point. Those with catalogs of thousands of books.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, that was great learning about Amlet.ai and what you're solving for. That's great. And at the end here, I usually do a quick innovation Q&A round. So I have 3 questions for you. So how do you define innovation in a few words?
Taking something old and making it new. And that's probably vague.
That's
I'll
fine.
give you an example.
Okay.
Well, and if you asked what my favorite is, I think of desktop publishing, right? So that's taking the printing press and streamlining the process by allowing us to do typesetting with a computer. That was like the most amazing thing. So, it's taking like tech but improving it so more people can use it. It's more accessible, it's faster, it allows for more creativity.
Okay, so the last one is which one of the technology things today, it could be software or application or anything digital or whatnot, we will be laughing at 10 years from now?
Yeah, probably the generic chatbots. I think we're going to see things that are much more specialized and personalized and that we trust more or not. Because we just not knowing where your content came from. If you're looking for medical advice, and who knows, it could come from Facebook comments. You don't know where your advice is coming, or Reddit. Yeah, like not knowing the source. I hope that goes away and seems really, really quaint.
Yeah, that would be great. It's sometimes scary what even ChatGPT or Gemini, all of those tools will return as an answer to me, and I know it's like, oh my God, seriously.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Julie, for your time today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. We'll keep in touch. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
I hope this conversation gave you fresh ideas and inspiration. If so, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a quick comment. It helps more people discover this episode. See you next time.